go, GenRight Nation. We're having some issues with Facebook. It's got a mind of its own tonight, so we're trying to do live from my phone and the computer running YouTube. So sorry about the delay. Of course, we're happy to be here. So it is March 12th, and thanks everybody for joining us. I'm Tony Pellegrino, and this is Tech Talk. So if you haven't watched this before, this is something we do live every Wednesday at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Today's a little later, but we're still happy to be here to talk about your favorite subject and mine. We've got a couple great things for you tonight, so fasten your seatbelts. We're gonna cover a bunch of stuff, and I'm sure we're gonna have lots of questions. So let's see what we got here. As always, you guys can ask a question by just typing a comment, and try and include as much information as you can, and I'd be happy to try and get to everybody's questions. So we'll see what we can do tonight, okay? Feature product is, and Jennings, maybe I need to walk over right here. Can you see pretty good?
Yeah.
Okay, Mickey Thompson's spring sale starts this Saturday, March 15th, and it's $125 off 5 tires, $100 off 4 tires, and that applies at any retailer, so brick and mortar store that you can go into, and you can get the rebate. Pretty cool deal. And this is on, which if you look down, this is on the Mickey Thompson Baja Boss AT, the Mickey Thompson Baja Boss MT, their Legend tire, and their MTZ. So basically all of their light truck tires. And I do want to remind everybody too about their wheels. They just came out with wheels, and Jennings, maybe you can point over toward the wheels. Really nice looking wheels. They're what we call bead looks, and then they have regular wheels as well. They're in the popular Jeep bolt patterns. So yeah, you're gonna want to check those out too if you're in the market for some wheels. So who we got watching so far?
I think it's just a Facebook problem because it won't do it on your phone either.
Oh, either? Okay, so, yeah, well.
It says broadcast failed.
Then.
Yeah, sorry guys.
Sometimes
I think
that's the way these things
having some issue.
are. Okay, then we're going to get on to the rest of the show.
Let me tell you who's watching on YouTube.
Okay.
We got Richard Peterson.
Nice.
NorCal. Says there's lots of rain and wind up there. Kathy McCavis is watching. Mark Lawrence.
Nice.
Says doing prep work. Two Feather Channels watching. JC Cologne. What's going on? He says, knock, knock, who's there? Your ball joints.
yeah. We're going to turn around here, and you're going to see everything I'm working on.
What's going on, GenRight family? Stephen Draper says, good evening from North Georgia. Heath Basham says, hello from Texas.
Nice.
Matt McDonough. Dylan Jones. Esther Newcomb.
Nice.
Jerry DeRimple. Craig Huffman. Robert Fisher. Robert Fisher says, with the updated cage for the JKs, what is the single biggest improvement that you believe was done compared to the older design?
Really, it's about the visibility through the windshield is probably number one. Number two, that we raised both harness bars behind the front seats and the rear seats. Number three, that we added the side plates. Number four, we repositioned some of the tubes to give you guys a little bit more leg room inside, especially in the back seat.
C. Rodriguez says hi. She says, saludos, Mr. Tony.
Nice.
Michael Coatson says, hello all from Texas this fine evening.
Nice. All right.
Nick Repanich says, hello from the RC Rock Crawling Center of the Universe. Where's that?
I think at his house. He built a track with replications of all the different obstacles, so that's cool.
Shamrock Adventures, that must be Patrick.
I think so.
Patrick?
I think so.
Hi, Patrick. Laura Coda, nice little
is.
Jeep.
Yeah.
Says, I think you should do Tech Talk on the YouTube only. Well, we are.
I think we've made that decision today.
Yeah, we just made that decision.
Yeah, we've been fighting with Facebook for a while.
Julio Jackson says hello, family. Great seeing you. Eric Nunn from Texas. Sergeant Jeep. Hey guys, what's up? Hi Tommy.
Nice.
Theodore Miranda. BNG 4x4 is watching. David
Cool.
Mork says hello. Randy Hemme says hello from Louisiana. Fran Myers in Minnesota.
Wow, nice.
Wayne Kinchy says, hey, GenRight, Wisconsin made it.
Lots of East Coasters. Okay, well, let's spin around and let's get going on the rest of everything we want to show and talk to you guys about. So
Aftershock.
I brought Aftershock in here, and I started. First off, I knew that I wanted to change all the fluids. It's time. I'm just about to turn 50,000 miles on this, and wanted to kind of go through everything. One of the things that I do initially, besides cleaning it, is get it off the ground a little bit, and I shake the tires, okay? Part of what I'm after is I want to feel what the wheel bearings feel like, and I also want to spin the tires, and I expect that they'll spin nicely. And if you're doing this, if you're modeling, your inspection after mine, do it on all 4 tires. I did it on all 4 tires. I'm also looking at everything, right? So I'm looking for any cracks, anything loose. I inspect all the welds. I'm looking at the brakes. Did rocks get in here and chowder the rotors? I'm just, got eyes on everything. And actually, one of the things I do is I take a rag and I actually wipe everything to make sure, that it's smooth and nice. Then I noticed on my drive shafts, I'm gonna grab one of these. Let's see, is it this one here? I'll show you. When you look at these, if you inspect underneath this clip, you can notice that the black paint is gone and it's silver. That means the cap is dry, and that needs to be serviced. So that's very important that you catch that. So I'm going to take these back to JE Reel is one of the companies that I work with. I'm going to have them service them. I'm going to have them rebalance them. Just make sure everything's perfect so I can go another 50,000 miles. I pulled both the front and rear off. When I did that, I also check the pinion. So I check the backlash on the pinion. In fact, I'll be cameraman right now. And I'll wheel this over here and I'll show you. Let's see. Right here. Okay. So one of the things that I do is I check the backlash on the pinion. And what I'm looking for is bearing preload, like it should be a little bit hard to turn, and then you should get a little bit of jiggle out of it. That's the lash between the gears, and you're supposed to have some because as this unit gets hot, it's got to have some room for expansion, so that's important. The other thing that I was checking on is all my Johnny joints, right? I want to see what kind of condition they're in, and I'm going to take you over to the bench and show you what I'm doing there. By the way, while I have this off, I have a tool I made that looks something like this, and this slips over the top of my yoke, and it bumps onto the control arm, and then I can put torque on this, right? So once you start to torque it, and check to make sure this nut is not loose. And this, by the way, is torqued to a very high foot-pounds. I think it's 200 foot-pounds. I don't want you to use an impact. This is because you're rattling the 2 gears together. You actually want to do this with a breaker bar or torque wrench.
Well, how would you secure that if you didn't have that thing?
Well, you need to make one, or you get a giant pipe wrench or a crescent wrench, or you got to get something on there to do that. This is just simple made. Can you see it? Yeah. How we just welded it together? It's just some flat steel plate and. Yeah. Good to go. So
Craig Huffman asks, do you run dust shields on your rotors?
I do not. I want whatever's going to go in there to get out too. So yeah, that's all of it out.
Question from Daniel Partita. Would I be able to weld in your Elite rear coilover shock mount crossmember kit without removing the body in my garage?
Yes, you can. Yeah, the whole thing was designed so that you could do it without removing the body. Now, what that's going to mean is from the inside, where the towers come through, you're going to have to open that hole just a little bit bigger in the inner fender well so that you can get your welding torch in there. Not a big deal. We have if you get the boots from us, they'll cover that easily, or if you're making your own thing, you just got to, make it a little bigger. So not a big deal. Yeah.
Stephen Waterman says, I want to give a shout out to J.E. Reel for fixing my broken drive shaft and making me a new one, which feels beef. Thank you.
There you
Hammer
go.
Time TJ.
There you go. Nice. I was going to mention this too. So for those of you that are familiar with the way the drive shaft attaches, there are these little U-bolts, right? So when you tighten this, what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to cinch this on here and tighten these little nuts till they stop. Then you're supposed to go a quarter to a half turn with your wrench more on each one, on each of these two, okay? If you go more than that, you stand a chance at crushing these caps, and there's little bearings inside there. So, of course, then it's gonna malfunction and break and come apart. So that message is directly from Jim over at J.E. Reel. So I wanted to impress that upon you. Okay, so on the Curry axles, you pull this little skid plate off. There's a drain plug right here. I pulled the drain plug. Can you see it a little bit? Right there? Yep. So I haven't put the drain plug back in. I monitored how much fluid came out. I'm going to put a little bit more than came out back in. I am going to run Torco. I'm not sure what everybody can see, 85-140. This is a full synthetic gear oil, and this is really good. This oil, we've run for racing, we've run, for, 15, almost 20 years. And we haven't had anything fail, so I'm a big believer in it. And it runs cool, it runs quiet, so I'm sold on this stuff for sure. So I'm going to replace that, get it all fresh. I'm going to re-lube all the Johnny joints. In the process of doing the Johnny joints, I'm actually going to take each of these links out. I'll show you over on the bench. And the one other thing I want to point out is I switched over. Can you see this?
Oh.
I switched over to this little bellows.
Oh, yeah.
Instead of running a vent, which, by the way, the vent tube can get kinked, and then what happens is you develop a leak around your pinion seal or somewhere else. But basically, as this axle warms up, the fluid's going to go somewhere. So if the vent is kinked, it's going to blow through one of the seals. And that's every time I see somebody with a leaky pinion, that's the first thing you want to check is that vent tube kinked. This allows the thing to expand, and any oil that comes up in here, as soon as it cools down, will go right back inside. So that's kind of nice too. So yeah. Then while I was down here, I decided I was going to change my transfer case fluid. Can you see that okay? Yeah. And so you drain it here and you refill it right here until it comes out. And that's pretty simple. I will recheck the torque on this front and rear. So I'll do that. I inspected my transmission mounts to make sure nothing was loose. And then I moved to the front end where I pulled the front drive shaft out. And just like I showed you before, I checked the backlash and how much preload there is. Everything feels great. The front end obviously gets a lot less use than the rear. And again, you can see I've stored my U-bolts for the drive shaft right there. And these are the bolts right here that go in the yoke up top. So while I'm here, I'm also going to change the engine oil. So that's actually done through this access hole here. And I've got a fresh K&N oil filter that I'm going to be putting in there, and some Torco 530 that I'm putting in. So that's going to be nice. And then in the transfer case, I'm using the Torco high vis. I don't know if you can see that or not, high vis ATF That's the factory transfer case calls out for ATF, not gear oil. So we put ATF back in. And like I said, you do it until it comes out this other hole, and you're good to go.
Show that again.
What's that?
Show that again.
Right here. So this is the drain, and this is the fill. So basically you pull that fill out, you pump it in with a little fluid pump, and you just go till it flows back out, and then you cap it off. So basically, you know, that's gonna fill the bottom. It takes about 2 quarts, but that whole bottom half. Inside here, by the way, is a chain. So that's what hooks the front. This is the front, and this is the rear. That's what hooks the 2 sides together. So there you go.
Two Feather Channel asks, is that bellows one way?
It's 2 ways. So it allows for expansion, and oil can flow into it, and then when it cools down, it pushes the oil back down into the differential. So I have not done that on the front, but I was experimenting. I've had a full season on that now, and this is my first time to get under here and inspect it, and it looks like it did just wonderful. So now I'm probably gonna order some of those that we can sell on our website, and you know, make sure you guys are getting the right thing.
Esteban Gonzalez asks, Atlas versus Behemoth transfer case, which do you recommend?
I still prefer the Atlas. Just so you know, inside here is very small planetary gears, and in a Rubicon there's 6 of them. So that's good. You know that they're used to, in the older 231s there was fewer, and but this is still chain drive. So what that does is it gives you play between the front and rear, where an Atlas is all gear drive. And that gear drive is much more positive, and it keeps the driveline tight. The other thing with an Atlas, which is a big thing, is the ability to go front or rear only. And if you've ever been in something tight, having the front dig only, or if you've slid off your line, you can do rear dig over. There's a lot of advantages to being able to do that. And if you've ever seen one of these, this is super thin casting. Although they seem to hold up pretty well, the Atlas is a much beefier version. So I'm a big fan of the Atlas for sure. The Atlas for the JL wasn't available until like the last, I don't know, 9 months. And so I didn't get one for this because I have to use this on the road. As you know, last year I was traveling a ton. This Jeep was on the East Coast, and the whole underside just took a beating. Normally it wouldn't be this dirty for just driving around on the West Coast, but going out to the East and going in the mud, boy, that was really hard on things. So I'm going through, I'm looking at everything. It did, about 2 months ago, it ruined one of my wheel bearings in the front. I was getting ready for an off-road event, and I went over and I shook my wheel, and I thought it was going to fall off, and I thought, wow, are my lug nuts loose? No, it was the whole wheel bearing was wasted. The inside seal had let go, and it allowed dirt and mud to get inside, muddy water, and it just wasted the bearing. And luckily Jennings was the last one to drive it, and I'm just thankful it didn't come apart on her. So fortunately I had a spare. We stock those here at GenRight, the wheel bearings for everything we sell, and I was able to get a new one in there and get myself back out for our event on time. So let's see, we are going to talk about ball joints.
We got some more questions.
Okay, sure. Yeah, I know everybody loves underneath the Jeep.
Do the bellows work if you do water crossings?
Yeah, that's an important thing, water crossings in particular. So, I don't know if you've ever reached under your vehicle and touched the axle. It's not as hot as the exhaust, but it's hot, okay? So the moment you touch the water, it cools off and sucks air in big time. So if there's anything open, it's going to suck water right into your differential. So that's part of the reason why they run the vents way, way up on the firewall, to make sure that if you are in water, like say you hit the water deep, and while all that stuff's cooling off, you're sucking water into the diff. By the way, your differential will live for a little while with water in it. The oil does a pretty good job of bonding to the gears, and it'll get milky and lose a lot of its lubricity. But it's not like it's gonna seize up on you, on your wheeling trip, unless you're, on a long, overland trip or something. That's different. But for the most part, the bellows works great. It gives you enough range that and trust me, I've had this in snow, the hottest summer. I really, when I was getting into this yesterday, this is the longest period of time I've gone without servicing this, and I wasn't sure what I was going to find, but I'm quite happy that everything looks great. So there's little stuff like this, like my jam nut's loose. Well, on an aluminum control arm, that's bad news right there. So you really got to make sure your jam nuts aren't loose, and it's just something that you have to get. When we tell you guys to nut and bolt check your Jeeps, we're talking about everything. Like, you need to be putting wrenches on each one of these things. Your shock bolts, I just took my drive shafts off, so I'll check that. But all the bolts that hold your bridge on, your drive shafts, right, your brake calipers, basically you want to make sure that you are 100% sure about everything that will hold your vehicle together. The last thing you want is to have some trouble out there because you just didn't put a wrench on something, and it's pretty easy to do, okay? Now, if you don't know what the torque spec is for any of these bolts, remember I've got a torque spec sheet, over on my website under the Tech Talk page for GenRight, and that'll give you the torque specs for everything from 1/4 inch on up to 1 inch. So you've got quite a range there. Okay.
Wait.
Yep.
Julio asked, is that oil good for stock axles as well?
So, okay. Obviously the Torco is also available in a 75/90. So stock axles usually recommend a 75/90. I would run what they say. Now, the only reason I run a higher 85/140 is because I'm running a high pinion. So I'm technically running on the wrong side of the gear. So I'm trying to give that as much cushion and lubricity as possible. Plus, the high pinions tend to run a little warmer because we're doing it backwards. So the 140 helps that a little bit more. The 90 in that same heat condition would really thin out. Now, normally, I'm not sure where you live, but if it's winter time, then the 75/90 is ideal for somewhere where it's a cold environment. It's getting down to like 60 degrees here, so it's not that cold. So running the 140 is just fine. But you got to remember, these thick fluids, that one's not super thick. Like in the race car, we run 250, and it's like pouring molasses. It barely wants to go out. This is like a thin syrup, and it pours pretty good. And then as soon as it gets warm, it's really flowing. So, good question though.
Stephen Waterman asked, does the axle vent have a check valve?
No, they don't. The factory one has this little plastic thing that floats, and technically, if it sees water, it's supposed to like seal off. But I'm telling you, it's a loose little thing, and some water's going to get in there. But no, they're pretty much counting on you keeping either the Jeep out of water that's that deep, or getting those vents up as high as you can. Yeah.
Mark Lawrence asks, is that drain plug only on GR specs for the housings when ordered through GenRight exclusively? The drain plug wasn't in a Curry Crate D60.
Oh, no, okay. So this drain plug was only implemented when Curry went to their Extreme 70. Okay, and it's actually easier to show you over here. because the light's on this side. This low bolt, which keeps the ring gear from pushing away from the pinion. And this is your fluid level. So I don't know if you ever worked on a dirt bike or not. You just take this out, you fill through the diff cover until the fluid comes out this, and then you put the screw back in, and or this cap back in, and then you're at the perfect fluid level. And if you ever need to check the fluid level, if you're wondering, you can just pull that and see if fluid's right there, or you can add some and wait till it pours out and then put it in. But very, very helpful to have that built in there. That never was on their older axles. So these newer versions are really nice and easy to work on. Because before you'd have to pull the diff cover in order to get the fluid out or suck it out, which was, pretty big pain. Yep.
Wayne Kinchy says, weren't you going to install a Baxter filter thing?
I am. That I haven't got to that yet. I still have it. And that's, obviously up on the engine side. So if I have time while I've got the Jeep in the shop here, I pulled it out. My intention is to put that on. So, yeah, I'd sure like to.
Snowboard Life. Hey, Tony, when was the last time you drove your Terramoto V2? You still driving it?
I am still driving it. In fact, I just had it at TDS, which was the last event we did like a week ago. And it ran great. Like the thing just feels phenomenal and runs great. So yeah.
Daniel Partita, question 2. Can rear coilover towers be Frenched in, or do they have to be deep like the one you sell that requires you to completely cut through the frame?
Well,
is that because the width of the rear frame?
Okay, that depends on the vehicle you're talking about, right? So if you have a CJ, YJ, TJ, LJ, you do not have to cut all the way through the frame. Okay, you just cut to the back of the frame and then weld it in. If you've got a JK or a JL, yes, you have to cut all the way through the frame because of the, it's not when you're just sitting, it's articulation. Those shocks swing in a long way. And remember, on the JK and the JL, because these are bigger, heavier vehicles, you have the ability to go to a 3.0. So that's a much bigger shock to fit in there. So, yeah.
Joe Alice, for a LJ stock T-case, what slip yoke do you prefer?
Slip yoke eliminator. I prefer the advanced adapters kit. It's not what they call a hack and tap. It's a full brand new shaft. Can you move? Yeah. Yeah. we did a Tech Talk show on it where we filmed. I did the whole change, like the install. So, but the T case is up here.
Yeah. So. Well, look,
she's having a little trouble.
Tight.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Oh yeah, you did. Jeez.
Yeah.
There you go. There's a little slack.
Let's see. Matt McDonough. Tony, thanks for the links to the heavy-duty electrical connector. I've got them on order to get
good.
The radiator fan wiring squared away.
Good. This gentleman sent me a picture of a melted, like a blade connector. They're big and they're heavy-duty for the electric fan from the factory, but it wasn't big enough. He was clearly pulling more load and that thing just melted. Anderson, it makes a giant connector to like run something as big as a winch, and then they've got a step down from that that'll go up to 150 amps. That is nice and I think perfect for that application. But they're really high quality, gold plated terminals that, like I say, can handle up to 150 amps. Which your fan might pull 50 or 60 amps when it first starts. 30 amps is like probably what it pulls all the time. So, but a fan draws a lot of power for sure. Yep.
Rick Turner, where would I order the bellow from?
So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to find the right ones. Can you rotate more or no? You're stuck again. Okay. I'm going to find the right bellows and I will order them and I'll put them on the GenRight website because. This one, I had trouble finding this one and it's not quite right. I know the right one's out there, so I'll look around and I'll acquire them and get you guys the right thing.
Okay. Could the bellows fit on the transfer case? That vent on top is very short.
So Typically what I do is I put a 90-degree fitting off the top of the transfer case, and then I run the hose elsewhere. So what's important, especially on an axle, is we used to come, can you see my hand?
Yeah.
Okay, we used to come right out of here and go up the control arm. Well, right now this Jeep is fully drooped out, right? This whole, you can see my limit straps are tight. Well, when you shove this up, these control arms are virtually flat, or they're actually going downhill. So typically what happens is fluid gets into the tube, and then, like I told you before, it's very thick. It's like syrup, right? So then it starts to create what's called a siphon. So the moment this builds pressure from heat, then it starts to push that syrup, and as soon as it starts to flow out the other end, wherever the other end is, it's going to start siphoning all of the fluid out of your differential. So getting this right is very important. Now, transfer case, that's a little bit different, right? It's not spinning as fast as this is. By the way, with a 538, and you run an overdrive, you know, most of these vehicles have an overdrive. This pinion is, when you're going like 100 miles an hour, I think the real speed is like 120. This is almost flying at the speed of sound. This is just screaming. And it's really important to understand what's being generated inside here, the amount of pressure and heat. The transfer case is quite a bit different in that regard, and the oil's a lot thinner. So,
Shamrock Adventures. I've started to check my bridge bolt after we saw what happened at Turkey Run.
Yeah. So those are these up here and up here. Yeah, those are an important thing to routinely check. And I will mark those with the torque seal so that you can see if they move, then you know they're loose without even putting a wrench on it. So that's you see me doing that all the time. Yeah.
Not sure if this was a previous comment, but Joseph Hank says 70s and extremes and VXRs.
Have this, yes, and this.
Ah.
Yes,
okay.
That's on their newer stuff. Okay, spin over to this side, right here. Can you get that right there? Okay, so you can see the ball joints there. Let's, maybe you can hang on to that one while I do this. Yeah, just keep.
Right.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
Oh, maybe back a little bit?
Yeah.
That's about as far back.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Okay, so I noticed that this one is loose. Can you see it moving?
Yeah.
So what I'm going to do, I'm going to come around this side. What I'm going to do is, can you see my hand? There's a cotter pin on the top of this upper ball joint. I'm going to pull the cotter pin and I'm going to re-torque this nut. These nuts go to 70 foot-pounds and the lower nut goes to 150, okay? So if I re-torque those and it's still loose, then they need to be replaced, okay? So let's spin around over to here now, because I've got a whole bunch of stuff on the bench to talk to everybody about. Maybe, yeah, I was just saying you might want to come. That's fine, whatever works for you.
Wait, Gavin Hudick asked, why are you running U-joints instead of RCVs?
Oh, so this axle, I just left it the way it was. My plan is to upgrade to RCVs. I've actually already got them. I just haven't put them in. And if I have time, I think, you know, enough of you have watched my Tech Talk shows and asked me about, you know, when's this coming, when's that coming, you know. I do all my own maintenance on my vehicles. And I hate to say this, it's almost like the shoemaker shoe. I do what I need to, and not much more. So because I have so many things on my plate, if obviously if it's one of those things, if it's not broken, don't fix it. But when I can, I love to slap the new stuff on. So definitely in the works.
Okay.
Yeah.
Michael Costin says, do you sell the suspension parts to mount to the JL frame? I was in understanding that you just want to swap the frame.
That is true. I do just want to swap the frame. So here's the basic logic behind that. If you put 1-ton axles, 40s, 42-inch tires on it with giant 3.0 shocks, what are you going to do? You're going to drive like a freaking madman. You know what that's going to do to your stock frame? It's going to break. Okay, and it might not break the first time you're out, but it's definitely by the 5th or 10th time it's going to break, and you're going to be stuck. Okay, that's the kind of break that you got a real problem with getting your Jeep off the trail. So you guys rely on me to do it right, and I only believe in doing things the right way. I offered a complete frame, and honestly, that's the right way to do it. If you're going to keep this vehicle, that's the right way to do it. If you're like, hey Tony, I'm listening, maybe I should sell this or keep this as my daily driver and go get a JK that I can build up and add on to that frame, then that would be my advice. Down the road, we are talking about doing a stage 1 kit for the JL, but that is only up to 37-inch tires. Okay, so I just need people to be realistic. When you put these giant axles under your Jeep and you want to drive like Robbie Gordon, then you got to have more frame. Okay, you've got to have that. That's the backbone to the entire Jeep, and you want to get out there and flex up and push the limits through all this stuff. You're putting a tremendous amount of force on all these components, every bracket, and every piece of material and weld underneath your Jeep. So I just need you to and look. You don't believe me? Great, do whatever you want to do. You see other companies doing something different, buy their stuff. Like, good luck. This is the right way to do it. So you're watching this because you want to know the right way to do it. Yeah.
Snowboard life. Hey Tony, is your Terramoto V2 wrapped, or do you have a lot of decals on it? Because I would love to do it like what you did. It's cool.
Yeah, it is wrapped, and it's actually been wrapped several times. And right now it's got the red, white, and blue livery. And it's fun. It's definitely noticeable. And I even did the roof and everything. I don't know if you've seen that lately, but yeah, it's awesome.
VB Tom asks, is there a wrong place to put lemon straps?
Well, basically you want to make sure that as the limit strap collapses and extends, that it's not rubbing on anything. So, and obviously it's got to stop short of the shock over traveling, right? You want it about a ½ inch to an inch short because the strap does stretch. So, you can see on here, like Extragenics, if you just spin around, you can see this one right here. And you can see that it's in a direct line. It kind of follows the path of the shock. But when it collapses, it's coming in here and not tangling with anything. And I tend to run them behind the shock because out in front, you've got your bump stops. You definitely don't want them getting caught on the bump stop. And you don't want bushes and sticks and stuff getting into them. So behind is always kind of the way. And then in the rear, we do it in front. So I don't know if you can see from there, this one right here. Can you kind of see that? This guy?
Yeah.
So again, that's in front. And we make sure that it collapses in so it doesn't get tangled up in the bump stop. So, yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Rick Turner.
Sure.
Oh, no. Daniel Partita. Do ball joint deletes have any negative drivability feel on roadway highways compared to ball joints?
Okay, that's what we're getting. All right. So first off, I don't know if you can see this right here.
Yeah.
Hopefully you can. And I'm going to move this over. So Dana 60 or 1 ton, Dana 44, Dana 30. I want everybody to see the size difference between these.
What are these?
What's that?
What are
These are your knuckles that right out at the wheel that turn the Jeep. Okay, inside this goes a wheel bearing that looks something like this. Okay, now this is the one for the Dana 60 or 1 ton. And all of these are what they call a unit bearing. The whole thing is contained right here. And then it bolts in. So you take those nuts off and you slip this thing into. Now, obviously, the one for the 44 is smaller and the one for the 30 is even smaller. Okay? Part of the reason I did it like this is because I want all of you to understand there is a significant size difference. So every time somebody's asking me, Tony, can't we really run a 40-inch tire on my Dana 44? Well, you tell me. You know, here's the ball joint that's holding that thing on, right? These are not very big, okay? Compared to the one on a 1-ton. What do you think? Think that 44 can hang with a 40-inch tire? I don't think so. Okay. And then you've got the, this is the ball joint delete right here. Okay, so somebody had just asked about that. And this, basically what this is this is a uniball. Can you see me moving that? Are you zoomed in?
Yeah.
Okay, so no, the drivability on this is just fine. And the uniball not only turns like this, but it floats. So as the knuckle turns, you know, it can do its job. And no, these have been great. I'm running the American Iron brand, and I have beat the daylights out of Montero Moto. And if any of you have followed along with my Tech Talks, I've run 42-inch tires on that for 1 year now. And I know that just going from a 42, my maintenance schedule has doubled. So, you know, really, that says a lot for these things being able to hold up, because I'm super happy with that. We had a lot of trouble with the original, you know, this is a Dana Spicer type ball joint, and this, you know, goes right here. If you're wondering where it goes, I can stand this up. Right, so this is what the knuckle looks like in the proper position, right? And then your tire would be out here, right? So you turn the wheel, and you know, for the most part, these do pretty good, but you know, they do have their limitations, and you know, like I was just showing you over there on my Jeep, I still have this style on Aftershock, because although I'm running a 40-inch tire and I put a lot of miles on, we are doing a lot of high-speed stuff. I did just chase King of the Hammers in this thing, where we were ripping across the whoop-de-doos and stuff. But given that it's got a 40 on it, that's a lot easier on the parts. So yeah, just gives you an idea. What other questions have you got?
Rick Turner asks, do you know of a good source for the TJ Rubicon D44 air locker nipple going into the diff?
I don't. Who would be? You know, if Tommy from Sergeant Jeep is watching, he might.
I think he is.
Okay, he might be able to make a suggestion.
Yeah.
Or even sell you one. Or if Jeff's watching, Jeff might be able to do a quick Google search and figure out who's got those.
Would that be GenRight Off-Road? Because they have a question. Will Terramoto ever be yellow again?
Oh my.
I hope.
I don't know. It's certainly not in 2025. Maybe in 2026.
I think Nana's mad that you didn't do it. So that's why she's not watching anymore. She's like, it's not yellow still. I'll watch when it's yellow.
Oh man.
Stephen Waterman, what about replacing the frame on a JT? LOL.
Oh man. You know, eventually we'll get there. Let's see, how do I put this? If you are a two-door JL or JK guy, if you are a JT guy, and you are ready to spend money, then you need to call in and talk to one of my sales guys and tell them, I want to order this today, okay? Then Tony, me, will bump those products to the front of the line. But we have so many products that people are ready to order that the products that nobody is, you know, blowing up our phones and ready to spend money on just slide. So I'm just trying to be honest. We have over 100 new products in the works. So it's a lot. And you got to remember, I dedicate every Wednesday to doing this. It takes the whole day to set up and do this. And that's a day out of my schedule. So I'm trying to spread myself and get you guys information and develop new products and be out there wheeling. So
Joe Alice says for LJ 7-inch stretch legend kit, Super Duty axle, 23-gallon tank, do I need to remove the cross member and move the tank all the way back?
this was on an LJ?
Yeah, LJ 7-inch stretch
Yes.
legend kit.
Yeah. Yeah. If you have an LJ, just do yourself a favor and get rid of that faux cross member and move the tank all the way back. Yeah. Yep.
Oh, get rid of it
Yeah. It's a fakie.
and don't put it back?
The factory put it in so they could run the same gas tank that was in a TJ in an LJ. Like, to me, that's a joke. So they should have put a bigger tank in there or just left it in the back. So whatever.
Theodore Miranda, 06 TJ rock crawler, 4.5-inch lift, long arm, flat belly, 5-inch stretch, e-brake cables too short now. Any suggestions on what to use, or should I go hydraulic e-brake cables?
Okay. Well, certainly on our website, we sell what's called a line lock. And you could put that in the brake line going to rear wheels, and you literally just step on the brake, you flip this little lever, and those wheels are locked. But if you want to keep a cable because you like having the hand emergency brake or parking brake, you can get aftermarket cables that are longer. You can buy them in a kit from Low Car, either made to length, or you can buy them so long that you just make them yourselves. And you can get those from Summit Racing or JAGS. Those are readily available.
Oh, Tommy answered Allstate Gears has them.
There you go. See? We got good resources watching.
Nice little Jeep says, we need you to start focusing on those 100 projects.
Yes, see?
LOL.
I know.
Rick Turner, so 37 for D44, especially TJ Rubicon, would you risk a 38?
I mean, honestly,
38's
most.
only half-inch
so,
more.
so here's the thing. What these tire companies call a 38 is really a 37.
So
if you go measure their 37, it's really like a 36. So getting a 38 is really just a 37.
So it's okay.
It's fine.
Joseph says, LOL, Robbie Gordon? Hell no, I want to drive like Tony Pellegrino.
Well, that's just a click off from Robbie Gordon.
No, that's even harder.
Jennings has been in there, and
Robbie goes on the road. That's much smoother, easier on the car.
yeah, we posted a video from last year where we were ripping the qualifying course in Terremoto, and if you never saw that, you should check it out. We are flying, and I mean it's clearly faster than most of the guys that were racing in a street legal Jeep. So.
Snowboard Life. Hey, Tony, would you recommend skid plates for the underneath of your Jeep? Do I need to spend top dollar for a good set?
So, can I be kind of funny here?
Yes.
No, don't lift up your Jeep. Get it, like, if you look at the bottom of mine, there's no scrapes on it because I'm above all the junk and I keep the rocks on the tires and not down the middle of the freaking Jeep. So, yeah, to spend the money on improving the Jeep, not on covering it, and you'll have a lot more fun with it. So, by the way, those skid plates just trap heat and dirt and noise in underneath the vehicle. So
save money this time.
yeah.
Yay!
There you go.
All right, we're caught up.
Okay. All right. So we kind of covered the ball joints. We talked about the difference between the American iron and a standard ball joint, and I showed you guys the different sizes between them, how much smaller or beefier they are, and that's important for you to know because this is the only thing holding your wheel on, okay? It's not much. That's a glorified, half-inch bolt. Okay?
One more question. Do
Sure.
you guys make right-handed drive Terremoto for Jeep JK?
We do offer, if you are in a country or you're just one of those weird dudes that has one here in the United States, we do offer that. It is special order only, but yes.
Gotta call in.
It exists. You need to call in. Yep.
Okay, the Owl's Nest Garage says, "Hi guys, tire size opinion. 97 TJ, LS3, 6L80E, Atlas 2, 3.8, has Curry 9-inch housing, high 9 ARB at 488 gearing, 14-inch coilovers on a long arm, rear is 35 spline, front is RCV 3035 outer."
Okay.
Okay, what tire size opinion?
Well, I think anybody who builds a 9-inch is going to say 37-inch. Like I just talked to that other gentleman, you could probably get away with a 38. There's a lot going on in that 9-inch with an ARB. The inside, the meat on the carrier underneath the bearing is like so thin. And I've seen those ARBs malfunction. So if you push those too much, you're just going to end up having a bunch of trouble. So yeah, I'd stick with a 37 or 38 for sure. That'd be the max.
Okay.
I mean, if you told me you were just going overlanding and driving down dirt roads, that's one thing. You could probably get to a 39 or a 40. But if you're doing any kind of low range wheeling, especially on, out in Moab or Sand Hollow, where it's like you're driving on the pavement in 4-wheel drive, you're asking for trouble.
Snowboard life. So Tony, I got a 3.5-inch lift and 37s on tires. So I don't know if I need skid plates.
There you go. I mean, again, if you've...
Is that enough of a lift?
If you have a Rubicon, it already came with skid plates, right? If you don't have a Rubicon, then you just need to look at, what you're talking about. I don't think these full undercarriage skid plates are a good idea. I think if you are putting those on, but by the way, remember those lower your vehicle. Not only did they add more weight, but they stick down, okay? So you've actually reduced the amount of ground clearance you have, trapped all the heat, all the dirt, everything inside. And by the way, I know people that go, "Oh, no problem, Tony, I'll take it off and clean it." Well, let me tell you, after you've hit that once and you take it off, you're never getting that thing back on there. Like it does not want to go back on. So, you can listen to me or not, doesn't matter, but I would look at why you're hitting, what you're hitting. Remember, let's go way back. When I first started building my own Jeep, this is before I owned GenRight, every time I went wheeling, anything that hit when I came back got cut off. So if it was a shock mount, if it was the transfer case skid, whatever it was, got cut off and relocated. And until I was completely flat, exactly like you see the suspensions that we offer today. So whether it's a Legend, a Tracer, an Elite, an EXS, that is what's behind all of it. And all of it exists that way for a very specific reason. Okay.
Here's a great question.
Sure.
Any tips on fixing the restraint system after putting in PRP seats?
Talking about the...
Lots of open circuits.
Oh. Okay. So what I did in Jennings' Jeep was I gutted all that stuff out of the factory seats and I carefully shoved it back into the PRP. So we could tell if somebody was sitting in the passenger seat, so it could tell if the seatbelt was plugged in, all those things. I absolutely gutted those factory seats and put it all back in. That's the only way to do it.
But the airbag doesn't work and the light's always on.
In yours?
Yeah.
The airbag doesn't work.
And PRP's like, don't put our seats in.
Well,
If you
yeah,
want your
that
airbag
okay.
to work.
So,
And I was like, really?
well, okay. So this goes back to me telling you, like, if you buy a JL and you plan on like ripping this thing apart and turning it into a rock crawler, well, it wasn't made for that, right? It's got all these safety systems built in. Keep in mind, same thing applies to a JK, right? That's why I built Terremoto the way I did. I gutted it. There isn't a single factory wire in there. I redid the entire thing because it had the ABS, the traction control, all that stuff is so integrated in to the CAN bus that you can't just disable this thing here or there as you feel like it. So, you know, if you want that kind of freedom, you got to go back to an LJ, a TJ, a YJ. You know, you got to go with something else that was less computerized for sure. Yeah.
He said, "Oh my God, you did."
Yeah.
One
Okay.
guy was saying he had fires starting inside his skid plates from grass.
Right. Right. It traps all kinds of stuff.
Okay, we're caught up.
So, including dirt and mud. Okay. So one of the things I wanted to talk about that I'm doing on Aftershock, and I do this all the time on Terramoto, is the proper way to lube a Johnny joint. So there's a couple things. One is, the first thing I do is I check it like this, okay? Now, if the Johnny joint is good, there is no way that you will be able to rock this by hand. You would have to take a giant crescent wrench and crank on this thing in order to get it to move, okay? So first off, this one's clapped out, okay? Now you can buy, one of the things I like about the Johnny joint is you can buy a rebuild kit, and you literally just pop out the C-clip, you push in the 2 new urethanes and put the C-clip back in, and it's fresh, okay? But what I was gonna tell you is, when these Johnny joints come to you, they only have assembly lube in them. They are not lubed for a year's worth of use. So this one has the zert fitting removed, but normally what I do is I will grease this, right? I'll give it a few pumps. Now, if I find that the Johnny joint does not take any grease, like, because you'll see it like shooting out the side, then what you have to do is take the zert out, you take a small drill bit, and you drill through the urethane right inside here, okay? Then you take that out, put the zert back in, and try again. I guarantee you the grease will go then. Then what you need to do is you actually need to rotate this all the way over and back. And the whole time you're twisting it as you go, because this is the only way you're gonna get grease all the way around. And you'll notice it'll be like super hard, and then it'll get easy, and that means you've got the grease around. Then stop, flip it over, do the other end, and if you just do this once a year, now you need to grease them on a regular basis, but if you do this when the joints are new, I guarantee you these things will practically last forever. You'd really have to do something to mess them up. But this is the proper way. This is what we would do to race prep a vehicle before it's going to race King of the Hammers. And the suspension performance is incredible. It just feels fluid. And I know that's what all of you are looking for, and nobody's ever told you the right way to do it. Well, I'm telling you the right way to do it. This is how you have to do it, to get the grease all the way around in the proper way, and then this arm is ready to go back in the Jeep. Okay?
Okay, Jim Smith says, 06 LJ, changed my ball joints, and when I removed the old ball joints, I found they were knurled ball joints.
Yes.
Had to go with knurled replacements.
Yes, he's talking about this.
How many times can I change my ball joints using knurled ball joints?
Okay, so in some cases you do not have a choice. So this would be a smooth, and that is a knurled, right? Okay, now obviously, you know, here's 44, here's 1 ton. You can see there's a sizable difference, okay? But this is the knurled, and what he's talking about is each time you push this in and out of the knuckle, it's taking a little bit of material every time, right? So you're shoving this in and out, and yeah, that's gonna, you know, after a couple times, there's no more material left, and you're gonna end up buying a new knuckle. In that case, I'll give you a tip. Buy yourself a, what's the brand? Reed. A good Reed knuckle, the orange ones. They're chromoly, they're also high steer, and that's what we're supplying in our stage 1 kits. And that's a really good quality knuckle. Then, do yourself a favor at that time, go over to the American Iron ball joint elite. Now, there's a chance that even with your factory knuckle, it's not too late, you can still go to the American Iron ball joint elite, but you'd need to do it the next time, right? Because you're running out of material in there. So it's gonna get loose and sloppy. Okay? What else you got?
That's it.
That's it. How are we doing on time?
Well, we are at 6:12, but we did have a
We
late
started
start.
late, yeah.
So
Okay, so we can
we're
give
about
people
there.
a few more minutes for some
Yeah.
questions. We can get back under the Jeep. We can talk about this stuff here. Hopefully, everybody just got a great lesson on how to lube your joints. That I'm telling you, nobody ever told me this. I had to figure this out for myself, and it's a very important step.
Chris Carey said that's why I like the delete kits. No more pressing in and out.
In and out. That's right.
Gavin says the D44 presses into axle C, not the knuckle, unfortunately.
That's right. That's even worse, right? Because now that's the whole housing. Okay, so when your ball joint delete goes bad, all you do is replace this spherical bearing. Okay, and that just slips in and out. Okay, so there's no pressing, there's no nothing that goes on. So that's the big advantage to the ball joint delete. Okay, so there you go.
Great show. Thank you for a great show. Question: what do you think about the metal cloak ballet joints, ball joints?
He might be talking about their like suspension joints, the rubber ones. I don't care for those.
Who sets up the gear sets on the 70s available from GenRight?
Those are straight from Curry, and they come with the Curry warranty. That's why we do it that way.
Rick Turner says red, white, and blue Terremoto.
That's the one he likes, because he wrote in that one.
Mark Lawrence says definitely, baller joints.
Baller?
Joints.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know about those.
Metal cloak baller joints.
Yeah.
Mark Lawrence says definitely good knowledge on how to maintain the links. Now I've got a lot of work to do.
Yeah. It's unfortunately, this is the best way to do it. Just pull it. And by the way, if you pull your link out, be ready with like a car size ratchet strap to either pull the axle forward, back, left, right. Because to get this back in, you might have to move things around in order to get the bolts back in. So just be prepared for that. Okay.
They're just saying thank you for a great show.
You're welcome. Sorry we were late. Thanks again for joining us. We will be back next Wednesday. Don't forget about that Mickey Thompson if you're in the market for tires. The sale starts this Saturday, the 15th, all right? Till next week, have a great rest of the week and weekend.